Imagine being 8 years old, suffering one heartbreaking loss after another, beginning with the loss of her mother. My next guest struggled to see God as a loving God. Welcome to this segment of Contagious Courage with Vahen. Sheila has an amazing story of courage. Thank you so much for being with me today.
You're welcome.
I want you to tell me, first of all, about being 8 years old and losing your mother. And you've had a lot of tragic losses in your life. Take me through a little bit about you when you were 8 and some of the things that has transpired in your life to bring you to say that you thought God broke your heart.
Well, at the age of 8, my mom had died. Well, she was sick for 2 years before that, so I can probably say 6. So as I got older in my teenage years, it got harder and harder because you began to need your mom more for different areas in your life as you're getting older. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have that. I had 3 sisters, but it's not the same. And things that I struggled with, that she wasn't there. I was a very insecure person. I didn't like myself. Wow. And it just seemed like nothing was going to turn out good for me.
Mm-hmm. And losing your mother, that wasn't the only thing. That wasn't the only tragic loss you've had as a young child.
No, I lost 2 brothers, one in 71 and one in 78. And one was a house fire. He wasn't burnt, but the smoke inhalation took him. And the other one, he was buried alive. He was digging a trench for somebody, and it caved in on him. And nobody had seen him because he was there alone.
Wow. And
just wondering, why would I have to go through this? And just my life in general just seemed I was going nowhere. My purpose in life, it just didn't seem like there was anything for me.
Yeah. So Sheila, of all the things that you've went through as a child and all the way up through, that was a lot of loss for a little child over a period of time. Tell me about what that did for your perspective or your perception of God and your relationship with Him.
Growing up, it was like at some point some thoughts would be like, am I going to lose them all? When is the next one? Why are they being taken from me? And I just couldn't figure why God would do something like that, why He was doing it. And I just couldn't get the feeling of God as a loving God would do something like that. And my friends, they tried to encourage me, help me in telling me different things, and that God is a good God, but yet I was so distant and couldn't seem to get close to, and didn't know if He was real, didn't know if for sure He was. But yet as I look at these people and how they would worship this God, and I thought, there's something more, and I just can't get it. I just can't find it. I just don't know where it is. It's so far from me.
Wow. And you desire that relationship with the Lord that just never seemed to come. Is that?
Yes, it's what I wanted.
Yeah.
It's actually what I longed for, because when I see the expressions on the people's faces as they worshiped, and it was just like they have something that I can't reach, and I just needed it.
Yes. Yes. One devastating loss after another, and now here we are all these years later. And I want you to share another devastating loss that you had just experienced. What about that situation is different from the tragic loss that you've experienced as a child What about that situation is different, and what about you is different? And if you can explain.
In 2017, the beginning when it all started, God was with me and He never left me. And watching my husband Lon go through all that he had went through, he was diagnosed with ALS.
Yes.
And a terrible disease. But to watch him go through it, you can see the love of God in him. But this one is different because I had picked up a Bible while we were building this home.
Okay, yeah.
And I've tried many times to read the Bible, but it was just like you put it down and that would be it. And pick it up every so often or whatever when it suited you. But I read it and it came alive. It came alive as if I was there in all that was taking place. And Jesus became very, very real to my life. And that today I can say from the tragedies of what took place before, I didn't know God. I didn't know His Son. And now, thinking God in the tragedies before, God took parts of my family, my mom, my two brothers. But that's not how I see it now.
Oh.
God did not take my family. He was there with me, through it with me. It didn't seem like it, but God never left me. And now, when I come up against this tragedy with my husband, I had God.
You had God.
I had God with me.
He was preparing you.
He was preparing me, and He never left me. And the peace that I felt, the joy, I can even say joy.
You had said that God had prepared you for what you were going to be facing by giving you strength. What's different about Sheila that's different than it was as a little girl? And was there any moment, was there any defining moment that God spoke to you or gave you something that you knew everything was going to be okay?
It was in January. Lon, he hadn't started to get sick, but it was in 2017 that he did.
Yeah.
But I woke in I think it was January 26th, and it was 3 a.m. And when I woke, it was just a thought, like a phrase that just entered my mind. The brokenness of God. And I thought, wow, what's that, Lord? And seconds later, it was like another phrase, and it was, get to the heart of the matter. So I lay there for, I say, 2 hours, pondering on those two phrases, like wondering, what are they? Like, what are you trying to say to me? And 2 weeks after my husband died, everybody was gone. I sat there, and I was just broken. I was broken. He was gone. I couldn't put my arms around him no more. And I missed that. You gotta miss it. But then, as I was thinking all of that, I looked up. And I said, God, those two phrases, the brokenness of God. You see, I lost Lon. I lost Lon and a few more members of my family. But God, day by day, is losing millions, losing many people, eternally lost. And I said, that soul, he's broken. And that's where the brokenness of God came into. And get to the heart of the matter. He wants His people to love those people, to share with them the love of God and how much He loves them.
Wow, Sheila, that is just beautiful. I think about everything that you've been through, and your heart is bursting with God's heart. And all the times that you've desired intimacy with Him. There are people watching that are suffering incalculable losses and things where they feel that God has forgotten them, or that God is doing this to them, and how dare God do things like this if he's a loving God. But you have asked all those same questions, and you have walked that same journey. And today you can say, God is a loving God. You thought God broke your heart, but your heart is bursting with the love of God. And that is so beautiful. And I pray that you will also be able to experience the love of God in your heart, and to be encouraged by hearing Sheila's story of overcoming insurmountable losses in her life, but finding intimacy with the Lord. And if there is anybody that would like to reach out to Sheila, I will have her information in the description of the video. So please feel free to reach out to her with any words of encouragement, or if you have any questions for her. I'm sure she'd be happy to respond.
Sure.
But that concludes another episode of Contagious Courage with Vahen King. And all that's left to say is, not to us, O Lord, not to us, but to you in your name goes all the honor and glory for your unfailing love and faithfulness. Until next time, bye for now.
Bye.
My next guest struggled to see. See?
The Psalms I read again. Psalms I really enjoy it.
Sweetheart.
What's that?
I couldn't. Oh no, he's gonna give me water. Sorry. I need water.